afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to give my speech assignment number 2, which is going to be on wind power today. This is for Instructor Mayo, public speaking, and today is November 17th, 2012. First, I'd like to start off by saying wind power is one of the most renewable energy sources in the world, and it is the most fastest growing energy source in the world. I'm going to talk about 3 points today about wind energy. 1. How wind energy is a valuable source of energy. There are so many wind turbines going up throughout the United States and throughout the world that it makes everything a lot easier to produce energy. 2. Most energy comes from turbines that can be as tall as 20-story buildings. That may sound big, but actually when you actually go up to a 20-story building and you actually see how big it is personally, then you'll understand how big it truly is. And 3. The biggest wind turbines can support up to 600 homes. So these 20-story tall wind turbines can support 600 homes. That's like pretty much 2 neighborhoods in a big city. First, I want to talk about how wind energy is a valuable source of energy. Wind turbines are a renewable source of energy. When generating power, the bigger the wind turbine, the better. Wind turbines are renewable, which means they can't be used up. There's constantly wind producing energy, which makes the wind turbine spin, which generates electricity, which means they're renewable. There's always wind producing electricity pretty much. Renewable energy sources are replaced naturally. The wind is a natural thing. It comes and goes. It can vary. There can be more windier days, less windier days. But pretty much how wind turbines work is they spin, which generate power, and then they will store the power in a little, actually it's a large box pretty much next to the turbine. Once the turbines are built, wind energy is one of the most least expensive sources of power. Pretty much what that means is, as other sources of energy prices are rising, wind turbines might be expensive to build, but eventually they will pay themselves off, and they'll make it worth it in the long run. Wind turbines are a lot bigger than most people think. Wind energy comes from turbines that can be as tall as 20 stories, and they have 200-foot blades. If you put that into perspective, if you go to a big city and you think of a skyscraper, think of that when you're thinking of a wind turbine, and think of 200 feet long propellers. I would say, for an example, they look like, if you have a big stick in the air, they look like a propeller on a plane, and pretty much all it does is produce electricity, just like a plane would spin its blades to go, in the air somewhere. The wind spins the blades, which turns a shaft connected to a generator, which produces electricity. So on very windy days, it's going to turn a lot faster, and it's going to produce a lot of electricity, and that might make up for the days where it's not so windy and there's not much electricity being, built, I guess you could say. And third, wind turbines are big and they produce a lot of energy. Wind farms have tens and sometimes hundreds of these turbines lined up in windy spots, mostly along ridges. For example, in my line of work, I'm always constantly in the rural areas of Nebraska, Colorado, and Wyoming, and I constantly see just wind turbines, like tens, hundreds of them, just lined up in rows on like the high cliffs and along the ridges where there's wind. And they'll produce so much electricity, it pretty much powers all the houses and all the businesses through the rural areas of Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming. Smaller turbines built in a backyard can produce enough electricity for single homes or businesses. So say I'm out here in Nebraska and my energy bill is just constantly coming in. If I produce a wind turbine and I build one in my backyard, pretty much it'll pay for itself eventually, and I won't have an electricity bill anymore. The wind will provide my electricity bill pretty much. Their downside to wind turbines: every year thousands of birds are killed. Wind turbines can be unreliable. They are built in windy areas, but even wind can be unpredictable. It can vary from time to time. Like I said earlier, wind can come and go. You never know how much wind is going to be there. Though that is a big issue, wind power is here to stay. Looking at the future, as oil prices rise, it's just going to make wind power more important, along with other renewable energy sources. Overall, there are so many reasons to build more wind turbines. They're valuable, they're renewable, and they can produce a lot of electricity. And the bigger they are, the better. So I see in our future that wind energy is going to be more predominant, and we're going to see a lot more turbines being built throughout the United States and the world. Thank you for being here.